Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. I wish that I knew what I know now all those years ago when I started the channel, because I'd have jumped on some of those Balblair vintage expressions. Sadly, I don't have any of those for review. But in April of 2019, Balblair put out some age-stated whiskeys, and I thought it might make sense to start at the 12 and work my way up. So, let's go ahead and review the Balblair 12 Highland Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. Balblair is one of Scotland's oldest distilleries, which, valid or not, is just a claim that follows every Scottish distillery. Like, guys, come on. Like, how about we make an awesome product, not there was a blade of grass that my grandpappy once stepped on this land 400 years ago, and he dubbed it whiskey grass. Like, it's just stupid. Like, stop it. I don't know, it drives me crazy. Anyway, I digress. A lot. Sorry. Let's talk about Balblair. So Balblair claims to be one of the oldest in Scotland. They originally opened in 1790, and then they ran for a while, and they rebuilt the distillery in 1895 to be closer to the Edgerton Railroad, because I guess riding on railroads makes you want to drink. But one thing that they couldn't change was the water source that they were getting their water from. They really liked the water. So even though they were quite a ways away, they actually import the water, and still do, from the original source. So that's at least a little interesting. As far as having such a huge, long timeline, there really isn't too much interesting about this distillery over their time, except that at some point in the 30s, I think 39, they closed for a while again, and the Norwegians took over during World War II. So, I mean, that's a thing. All right. Anyway, let's talk about some of their other offerings. So as I mentioned, they had all of these vintage versions. They had the 00, which was the year 2000. They had the 97, and they had the 90, and they had several others. And what they were doing is they were putting out the year that was the vintage, so it was actually kind of cool. If you wanted to have, say, the 2000 version, you really liked that one, it was easy enough to say, this is the 2000, I'm gonna keep buying this. It's not, I'm gonna buy the 12-year-old for the next 10 years, and they'll probably taste about the same. I liked that. I think that was cool, and I think that was unique, and they should have kept doing it. But whatever. Every distillery in Scotland needs to have age-stated whiskeys. So they have the 12, they have the 15, they have the 18, and then they have the 25. And like I said, it's not bad that they're doing this, it's just predictable and it's bland, and it's not something that sticks out on the shelf anymore. Like, I used to find that and I'd be like, what is this? Like, it's got a vintage on it. Now I'm just like, oh, there's a whiskey with a 12 on it. All right. So anyway, let's talk about what's actually in this whiskey. So this is a 46% whiskey. It's aged 12 years in ex-bourbon and double-fired American oak. It's non-chill filtered and it's natural color. And it's $60 roughly, although I've found that price varies a lot. All right, so listen to this pop, because I'm in an echoey room. I know I'm on location, so forgive me, but listen to this. It's gonna sound really good. Oh, boom, so good. Anyway, marketing and ideas and changing names and labels and all that stuff doesn't matter if the whiskey is good or if the whiskey is bad. But let's hope it's good. So on the nose, you're kind of getting what you're expecting. It's a 46% 12-year-old Highland Scotch. I don't know what that says to you, but to me that says usually it's going to be either light and fruity, maybe citrusy, or it's going to have maritime notes. In this case, it's the former. The prevalent note here is lemon, for sure. And then there is also kind of a appley, grassy note as well. And then some influence of vanilla, kind of probably from those ex-bourbon barrels. So overall though, the nose is pretty delicate and nothing is overbearing. It doesn't smell too alcoholic. It's just generally a pretty nice nose. This is, what would I call this? I guess I would call this just kind of a good example of what it should taste like. So I think they did a pretty good job, and the color is beautiful. All right, cheers. All right, so the taste is a little bit less impressive. First thing I notice is, I think age is an enemy here. The alcohol, I'm happy that they put it up to 46%, but they didn't let it sit in the barrel long enough. And because of that, it's a little bit harsh on the alcohol right off the bat. But talking about some flavors. So lemon is again right there. Again, that grassy note kind of comes through as well. honey. Along with that grassiness, there's a bit of an earthiness to it. It's oily as well, and normally that's a good thing. In this case, I don't love it. I feel like this might be a little hard to explain, so let me try to do my best here. So if you have a flavor that isn't wonderful, like a sulfury flavor, and that is what sticks in the oiliness, and that's what's left as the residue in your mouth, that's not as pleasant. I wish that what was sticking all around my mouth right now was not sulfury kind of I wish it was the lemon, or I wish it was even the grass. In this case, it's not. So it leaves a bad finish. And even if it tastes okay right off the bat, which it didn't, the mid palate was good. So the forefront, meh. The mid palate, pretty good. The finish is boring and uninspired and not making me happy. Let's go into overall. I'm very disappointed in this whiskey. And I have nothing against 12-year-old whiskeys. You check my channel, I've got 100 of them on here. And I just don't think this is a good example of what Balblair could be. In fact, reading, I always question myself, right? So after I do my research, I do my notes, do whatever, I usually go read and I see what other people have thought to make sure that I'm not missing something or that I'm not way off base. Or if I am way off base, it helps me to prepare for you guys abusing me in the comments, which happens, and I totally am happy with that. In this case, it seemed to be down the middle. There were some people who were like, this is great for a 12-year-old, but then I consider the price of $60. And I think if this was $40, I think this would actually be on some people's, intro to Scotch because of the 46%. But I don't think that this is a great Scotch. I think that a lot of people said that the 15, I have not had the 15, but a lot of people said the 15 was considerably better. And it's twice the price though, so I can't give you any advice on that yet. I will not give up on Balblair. I do think that this brand is probably a good brand, but I do not think the 12-year-old is one that I enjoy. And so if your flavors tend to match with mine, you probably won't either. Or at least you might be a little disappointed by spending that amount of money on it. So this gets my rating of ignore it. So thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. And remember, a fine whiskey may be judged with a single sip, but why risk it? Cheers. That's why you don't risk it. All right, bye.